before we go any further, I would like to directly address something to my monkey viewers. Cue title scene. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is the next pointless sequel in a franchise that exists just to milk the iconicness of one movie from 30 or 40 years ago. And it is also a direct sequel to the 2011 pointless reboot to the franchise that only exists to... You get the point. The thing is that, unlike most people, I didn't like Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, the CGI and the effects were cool, but James Franco was annoying. Caesar was nothing but a plot convenience. And the whole film as a whole just felt like set up for more sequels and to link back once again to a movie from 30 or 40 years ago. So, needless to say, I was not looking forward to this movie. I don't give a shit about Planet of the Apes, and I can't really say I was in for much of anything with this film. And coming out of it, well, let's start off with one simple factor. If you didn't care for the last movie, you're not going to be more invested in this film. It does play up a lot from the last movie, and you do need to be familiar with the last film to get where this film is. Now, having said that, this film is still really cool. Essentially, the idea is it's been about 10 years since the last Planet of the Apes movie. The apes took over because... whatever. Basically, they've now more or less taken over the world. They haven't seen a human in 2 years. Even though there's a clearly active human city 5 miles away. And essentially the film sort of like shows Caesar, the main ape, and as he builds his ape society and how the humans want to rebuild their society and how this leads to clashes and the politics of their world and what exactly is happening. And that part of the movie is actually very fascinating. I know when the movie first came out, there was a lot of worry that the film would focus too much on the humans, or if it focused on the apes would be too one-sided like they were in the 2000 Planet of the Apes movie. I can honestly say the apes are the most interesting part of this movie. The motion capture and the CGI that brings these creatures to life is the best I've ever seen in any movie. A lot of points, I actually thought these were real apes. Even towards the end of the movie, when they start standing upright, and as they begin to, like, physically look more humanoid, even that looked pretty realistic, and I almost thought, is this something actually going on? Is this really happening? So overall, this is a very visually appealing movie. The action in this movie is kick-ass. It's a little slow at first, but when things get going, it gets going bang. There's a lot of explosions. There's apes on horses, apes running through fire, apes with machine guns! And all of it is led by Caesar. I don't get what people are saying when they say Caesar's one of these iconic, endearing film characters that will last forever. He's not. But he is still a very good, compelling character, and I liked watching his art. He's got a wife and a family now, and he's trying to lead the society fair and just, but that's not easy. You see how other apes and what's going on in their life questions things. You see how he questions himself, and how he can be quick to anger, and how he's not perfect, and he makes mistakes, and he's not sure what to do. How do we deal with humans? Can we trust the humans? What warrants trusting one or the other? These are fascinating to watch, and it's all brought together. The subtle use of the way they talk in the film is excellent. The way that is shown, and the way it's shown how they have developed almost their own version of English. Now they still need to use sign language is done very fascinating. The progression, like I said, as their society grows and changes is fascinating. All of these elements are done incredibly well. There's no doubt the directing in this movie is excellent and top-notch. Unfortunately, other than Caesar, every other character in this movie slinks. There's this one other ape called Koga or Gaga or something. Basically, it's the Bobo from the last movie that killed the guy at the end. He was Caesar's best friend last movie, and he's a good friend in this film. And you sort of see how their relationship begins to differentiate as, like, the issue of what do we do with humans? How do we deal with them? And you see their relationship, get tethered. And I won't spoil how it goes, because it's done okay, but to be perfectly honest, after a while, the character just becomes your typical mustache-twirling, woo-ha-ha-ha-ha villain, and it's just really annoying. The human characters, I thought, were pretty bland and boring, and it's not necessarily that I have a problem with simple characters, but it's just sort of, even if they're simple, they need to at least be interesting, and these guys aren't. Gary Oldman, I'm glad, isn't the main villain like it looked like from the trailer. He is got some dimension to him. But the writing doesn't serve the actor very well, and honestly, his character just gets so annoying towards the end of this movie. The main human guy, I forget his name or who played him, he's pretty generic and forgettable. There's your typical, I don't take orders from monkeys, moron who, of course, does everything you think. The movie does take a lot of twists and turns and do a lot of interesting things, and I did find myself really invested and not sure what direction things were going to go. But the problem is the characters didn't do this with the script. I was always able to predict what was going to happen next. I always knew what this guy was going to do. Whenever we focus on the human, the film slows down so much, and they are just so uninteresting and bland. And all the other apes, after you get past the effects of it, just aren't interesting. They don't really have very developed personalities. They all change sides on the side of a dam, and there's just a lot of script inconsistencies with the way the apes behave. But nevertheless, I think this film is really entertaining. It's really enjoyable, very fascinating, a lot of good social commentary on civil rights and uprisings and all that. I will say Rise of the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is an 8 out of 10 on the sci-fi scale. I'm not a big Planet of the Apes fan, but this film is still a lot of fun. Please just don't let Transformers 4 make any more money. But what did you want to make money? If you're a Planet of the Apes fan, give me your favorite Planet of the Apes movie. And if you're not, just give me your favorite sci-fi movies, because there's nothing better than talking about sci-fi. And as always, click to like and click to subscribe because